out there just waiting to be tapped, and fishing was really good in the spring. Unfortunately, we missed a lot of that because phase one didn't hit until middle of May.
Yeah, and that's one of the frustrating things about where we were with this COVID, and without having professional partners like those the charter captains and the men and women that serve on the fisheries board, those decision makers need to trust that the information they're receiving is the best. And when the charter captains and those associations came up with plans that they would embrace relative to social distancing and those kinds of things, and recognizing that these charter captains just, they have a license, and they take tests, and they are really looked at with high esteem by the Coast Guard, the local sheriff's patrol, the volunteer patrols. These men and women are safe as charter captains, and they're not going to do anything that would risk the health and safety of their guests, their crew, and the reputation. So really kudos to them for coming up with an action plan and telling the state that they're ready. They're ready to open. So.
Sure. And I think they were already prepared for something like this just with the standard operating procedures that they normally undergo. If you go on a charter boat, you see how clean it is and how much time they spend making sure their boat is pristine. And that was before the pandemic hit. So, the safety is their number one priority, no question about it. And they wouldn't be able to have a U.S. Coast Guard license if they didn't focus on that. So, from the standpoint of the charter fishing community, I think that they're doing a good job, and they're continuing to showcase this fishery that we have. The latest stumble, though, is with some of these states that are seeing a spike in coronavirus, and they're being restricted on whether or not they can come into New York State. I know Captain Frank Campbell, I was talking to him the other day, and that first announcement where they announced a dozen different states, that maybe it was eight states that were restricted from coming into New York. If you did come into New York, you had to quarantine for 2 weeks, and he lost 7 of 9 trips as a result of that, which is significant. There's a guy that he lost 50 trips back in that March through May closure, and now he got hit with these others. So they have to scramble a little bit. I went out with Captain Ryan Shea, and we were fishing the Upper River together, part of the Buffalo News outdoor spread today, and he told me that he's been running doubles, but for the most part, he's got a new base. He's got a new base of locals that, normally 80% of the people that he would charter would be coming from outside the state. Now more locals have wanted to take advantage of the fishing that we have here in Western New York, and it's allowed him to educate them so that, like right now, is only one particular time frame of this fishery and maybe 1 or 2 different species. You've got all these other things that are going on, the trout in the lower Niagara River and salmon out in Lake Ontario, and different times a year where you can do real well from a small boat. And I think that the charter captains are the true ambassadors of the fishery that we have.
Oh, I fully agree, and because of what you just spoke about relative to the economies of what the sport fishing offers, we're affected by the out-of-state issues with COVID. It's specific targeting for intrastate within the 6 hours of New York State. So we're hopeful to expose our own New Yorkers to our sport fishing venues. I know that the hits, according to John, have been increasing week after week after week, visits to the website. So that's encouraging. But also, again, to just recognize how important the sport fishing is, and these ambassadors are our charter captains to the economy of Niagara County.
Sure. Well, we're going to take a short break. Before we do, we have a few calendar items that we'd like to share. And from now through July 26th is the Summer Lake Ontario County's Trout and Salmon Derby. Some big fish being caught out there. LOC.org is the website you can go to for the leaderboard or to find out where registration points are. July 10th is the deadline for the Sunset Bay Walleye Shootout on Lake Erie. WalleyeShootout.com is the website, or Don Rupert's phone number is 435-4137. And July 17th and 18th is the Lake Ontario Trout and Salmon Association's club tournaments, and you can find out more information by going to lotsa1.org. Deadline to register is the 15th of July. And July 17th is Big Fish Friday as part of the Sunset Bay Walleye Shootout. Again, WalleyeShootout.com, or call Rupert at 435-4137. And the main event is July 18th, the Sunset Bay Walleye Shootout. And you can have teams from 2 to 5 members. Entry fee is $500, over $250,000 in cash and prizes, the largest single-day walleye shootout in the country. And WalleyeShootout.com or Rupert's number 435-4137. And we'll be right back after a short break.
I was fishing with my old granddad, King Cole, and a bottle of wine.
El mensaje de texto típico te distrae del camino por casi 5 segundos. Evita textear. Evita chocar.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
Look at me. Hey.
Raymond, look at Mommy.
Maybe the light hurts his eyes.
Maybe she's just not hungry. Maybe he can't hear us.
Them and for you. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
I wish I was fishing at the Catfish Hole with some bugs in the bright sunshine.
Welcome back to the second half of the Outdoor Beat. We're talking to Dr. John Syracuse, Niagara County legislator. And one of the pictures I just saw just before we came back into the second half of the show was Senator Rob Ort. And Ort is also committed to the sport fishery, I know, and I just wanted to say that he actually attended one of the fisheries board meetings with our telephone conference call because he wanted to hear from the charter captains what needed to take place, and he was going to take that to Albany and run with it. So, you know, we're very fortunate here in Niagara County between Assemblyman Mornello and Assemblyman Norris and Senator Rob Ort for our representation in Albany, and they're always fighting for us. I just had to throw that out there. We have some special events that are going to be coming up. You know, I mentioned the Lock Derby and the outdoor calendar there, and in August There's a fall lock derby, which is the big one, $25,000 for the biggest salmon. So you see more people coming in because of that big prize. There's usually 40 states represented. I don't know how that's going to be impacted. It'll depend on where we are in the whole coronavirus pandemic. But you're involved with a couple other events. One is Reeling for a Cure, and that's a very popular event. It's been growing and growing. Last year there was 36 teams. Anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, thank you. Stephanie Pierleone is really the drive behind that. It's a women's only tournament. And its benefactors are for women's health issues, and this year it's going to be for the Breast Cancer Network of Western New York. So she's excited to put another one together. That was on her website.
It just so happens that these were the winners from last year. They just posted up. They were fishing on the White Mule with Captain Bob Sinelli, and this team, primarily people that worked with DEC. So I don't know if they did a little fish whispering there to come through with that win, but they had an impressive box of fish.
It's incredible to see the women supporting the women's issues, and also, there's another avenue to this, is just exposing the fisheries to perhaps ladies who wouldn't have an opportunity to go out. So really it's a wonderful way that Stephanie, in her service and outreach to help women's causes and also expose the fisheries to these women. And it's a wonderful day. I'm thankful to be up there as an MC. I love doing it. It's a great day. The ladies are ear-to-ear smiles.
Well, here's the MC right here, pondering on what was going to happen, what he's going to have for dinner, I think.
That's lovely. Thank you for that. But it is just a great day, and a lot of smiles. Certainly, also for some difficult times for others that are going through it, through different health issues for the ladies, but. For an afternoon, it takes their minds off of other issues, and
sure.
A lot of smiles. So Stephanie does it.
Last year, the benefactor was Hope for Two, and it focused on women who were pregnant that have cancer. And how can you not support something like that? Yeah. And they were able to raise a record amount. I think it was $13,300 they raised for that organization, which was the single biggest donation for that organization that they'd ever received.
I'm prone to grumble, I think, as much as the next person. But boy, when you get out there and you take a look at what these women are doing for others, and recognizing that there's a lot of people out there that have worse situations than I do. Oh, wonderful day on the water.
Yep. I think 2 years ago there was 21 boats, and they were hoping for 25, and they ended up with 36. Yeah. So I think you're going to see the 40 mark broke for this year. Hopefully the pandemic doesn't have too much of an impact on those overall numbers. But to your point about getting more women involved with the outdoors, I think that's important for the future. We need more women involved. We need to see that base of people enjoying the outdoors expand. There's an awful lot of single parent families out there now, and women are the ones that are going to make a difference getting their kids more involved in things like fishing. So, when you have 150 ladies last year that were on the water catching fish, and what really is impactful is when somebody comes up, it doesn't matter how big the fish is when they cheer. You know, somebody caught a box of fish. They had 6 fish that they're bringing to the scales. They could all be 50-pound salmon, or they could all be 10-pound salmon. The cheer is the same.
Yeah.
They're very supportive of one another, and it's a great event to be part of.
Yeah, and you know what? Certainly, families are welcome after the event. There's raffles, there's big door prizes, so you're welcome to come up afterwards. Certainly, we're going to be careful of the social distancing aspect of. There's a world-class.
Well, it looks like you get out there fishing too, you know, on occasion.
Oh yeah,
I know you enjoy fishing.
I love it. I love it.
You know, that's you emceeing the Fish Odyssey Derby,
right,
which is also coming up in August. August 22nd to the 30th are the dates for that Fish Odyssey. And because of the coronavirus pandemic, we're going to try to do something a little different as far as the awards ceremony. You were able to confirm that we have the Lions Club Pavilion in Kroll Park, and we're going to try to do some social distancing and be a lot more low key and you know, let people collect their awards, and you know, the kids will get nice prizes, and you know, let everybody be on their way.
You know, and that one's really driven towards the kids, the youth. I know Primate Sanctuary has been a great sponsor of this, the Presti family, and the kids enjoy it. There's a raffle at the end. Again, we're trying to still work out the logistics and be sensitive to the governor's orders on social distancing, etc. But we have the pavilion up in Kroll Park, and we're going to have the ceremonies up there. It may look a little different, but it's a wonderful day, wonderful tournament, derby to get your family involved in fishing.
Well, I wonder if Carmen is going to have to social distance from some of his primate friends.
Well, that he needs a social distance from a lot of what a gentleman, him and his wife, and they're just incredible asset to this Fish Odyssey Derby. It's
yes,
wonderful.
No question about that. And I also have to give Karen Everett a plug.
Yes.
Over at the Boat Doctors, her and her husband Jim run the show there, and they are huge helpers. You know, running the website and the leaderboard and all those things. So much appreciated for sure.
Yeah, they do an awful lot behind the scenes and in front for us to put off a successful Fish Odyssey. And certainly we also look to partner with LATSA. They've helped out in the past.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep, good point.
You know, so we're thankful for that.
Well, I want to thank you for being on the Outdoor Beat, John. It always goes too quick.
Yeah.
We didn't cover all the points that we wanted to cover, but thanks for sharing all the information.
Well, thank you, and I'd love to come back anytime.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next week, maybe.
All right.
Okay, thanks for watching the Outdoor Beat.
With my old granddad, king pole and a bottle of wine. Yeah, I wish I was a fishing.
to LCTV 1301 on Spectrum Cable for local talk shows, sports, entertainment, and special events in our communities. We also bring you the best gavel-to-gavel local government meetings and an opportunity for you to talk with your local officials live on TV. Program LCTV in your favorites button on your remote. Watch live or DVR LCTV channels 1301, 1302, and 1303. For the best in local programming, it's LCTV. For more information, go to www.lctv.net.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again on LCTV for our Niagara County COVID-19 update. I'm Becky Wittes, Chairman of the Niagara County Legislature, and today I'm joined again by Dan Stapleton, our Director of Public Health for Niagara County. Dan, if you would go ahead, just start us right off with our number updates for today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. We have 12 new cases since Friday morning, a great number. Week before we had 34, so the numbers are going in the direction we want. So far, we've had 1,349 positives to date. Those numbers continue to increase. No big surprise because we're doing a lot more testing. Right now, we have 78 active cases. 2 of those are in hospitals. And so far, almost 1,200 people have recovered, which is a great and important thing to make sure we always remind ourselves. People are recovering from this positive, and there's nothing better than that. Thankfully, no new deaths to report. We still stand at 94. But we're really, we get concerned when that happens, and we're continuing to work vigilantly to make sure that doesn't happen.
That's right, Dan, and I know that many people were holding their breath after the 4th of July weekend, and of course, more people just out and about in general due to the nice weather, things reopening, and everyone was waiting to see if we would have some new spike because of that, but that doesn't seem to be happening, correct?
No, we probably have another week before we would know for sure, but we would expect to see positive cases trickling in now, purely because of the exposure that we were concerned about. It's a testament to all of the people on the public. The people took it serious. They made sure they washed their hands, wore masks, which is the most important thing, and make sure they have that 6-foot distance. So very happy about that. A lot of hard work from a lot of people, and the public are doing a great job.
That's right, and Niagara County heat map has been updated again with our new totals, and even though we're only doing weekly broadcasts at this point, we will continue to update that map for you. You can find that at the top of NiagaraCounty.com's webpage in the COVID-19 banner, and of course that heat map breaks down the positive cases throughout the course of the pandemic by municipality, so you can see which towns and cities those cases were located in. Now we know this is important to you. Obviously, people are looking at these numbers. We've had over 372,000 views to our county heat map so far, so we will continue to update those numbers for you. I want to switch to testing for a moment and let you know that according to the state data tracker, we've now had 40,652 Niagara County residents tested for COVID-19. This is wonderful, and again, if you want to find the link for that tracker, you can find that on NiagaraCounty.com, again at the top of the page under the COVID-19 banner. Now, we know there are many testing sites throughout Niagara County at this point. Anyone who wants or needs to get tested certainly can find a place to do that. To find a testing site near you, again, go to NiagaraCounty.com. At the top of the page, there is a link that will take you to the state website where you can actually enter your address, and it will let you know where the closest testing sites are to you. It will also give you, of course, all the information that you need to be able to pre-register for that testing site. You want to make sure that you do call ahead to pre-register, as most testing sites require that. I believe they all do at this point. You also need to find out if you'll need to have a prescription from your doctor or what other requirements might be involved. So again, always call to pre-register for those testing sites. Now, Dan, the amount of testing that's being done in Niagara County is amazing. It's wonderful. From our rough calculation, we know that more than 4,000 tests were completed in just the last week. And we have been, reading articles about delays across the country and other states, how hard it is to get testing or waiting for those results to come back. What can you tell us about that?
Well, it's definitely a concern. Having a difference of 10 days, additional days waiting to get the results can result in community spread. So we're very concerned about those delays. We were able to form a partnership with ECMC very early on. We get our results in 2 to 3 days. The state-run sites are taking as long as 13 days, so that's definitely a concern. We encourage people, once again, to continue to contact our number in the nursing division at 278-1900. We do that every Wednesday morning to make sure that people can get the test results quickly. I've had discussions with the State Department of Health letting them know that an extra 10 days is not acceptable. They need to pick up the pace. They need to find another way of getting those test results quicker. But like I said, the partnership we have with ECMC of 2 to 3 days is really very remarkable, and we're very happy about that. But that definitely has to improve, and I've talked to the New York State Department of Health about that.
Very good. And clearly testing and getting those numbers is very necessary. We need that data to understand where we stand as a community. And the daily infection rate is something that we've been watching very closely over these last few months. What are you seeing when you look at our data with the infection rate?
Right now, infection rate since this crisis started is 3.3%. For the past 2 months, maybe longer, we've been less than half of what the state average with, even excluding New York City. So our numbers are definitely going in the right direction. They continue to decrease in terms of our infection rate. Our infection rate for the tests that have been done over the past week are right around 1%, which is fantastic. So the numbers we're getting are going in the direction we want. Doesn't mean we're through this, doesn't mean anything like that. But the fact is, our infection rate, less than half of what the state is. We're doing 6 to 12 new cases a day that we're getting, and we're covering right around 1 to 2%, which is really where we want to be. So, I'm not one to be overly optimistic, but this is definitely going in the right direction, and hopefully that continues to be the case.
Absolutely. And again, we can't stress enough that that's due to a lot of hard work, not just by employees who are battling this every day, but by the residents who are doing their part, taking the responsibility of wearing that mask, staying 6 feet away from each other, and not going out any more than you have to. So again, we encourage you to please continue to follow those distancing guidelines and all of those safety protocols that have been keeping our numbers low. We want to stay in that range. Now, of course, the other metric that we look closely at and follow is the daily hospitalization rates, and those are good as well. In fact, they've been very consistent over the last few weeks, correct?
Yes, the main priority we have right since the very beginning was to make sure that we didn't have a surge of hospitals that they couldn't handle. That's currently happening in dozens of states across the country. Thankfully, we aren't in that position. Hospitalizations have remained fairly low. We've had weeks where we haven't had any hospitalizations of COVID patients. So that's an important criteria as well. So we're where we want to be. We haven't had that surge. We never have. Hopefully we can continue to handle what we have and make sure that we're prepared to continue to be prepared for the next wave if or when that comes.
That's right. And big news today, moments before we began taping our broadcast, Governor Cuomo was on air speaking about schools. This is one that there's been a lot of question about. Will the schools open? How will the schools open? How will that all happen? The governor issued some guidelines today on schools, which is the first step in making those decisions. And this is how it will work. Again, this news came out just moments ago, so we haven't had a lot of time to dig very deep or get any more details for you, but we will update you as we get those. What we know as of now, according to the governor, is that there will be a state formula that will be used to determine whether schools will open in the fall. Guidelines are developed for schools that can reopen, state guidelines that they will need to follow. Like everything else, the decision to open schools, how they will open, how they will run, whether they will stay open is all going to be data driven, as all of our decisions about businesses have been. If the virus is under control, schools should be open. We're told by the governor that schools will reopen if a region is in phase 4, which currently Western New York is. So if you're in phase 4 and the daily infection rate is 5% or lower over a 14-day average, then the decision will be made in the first week of August that school can open. However, if the regional infection rate is greater than 9% over a 7-day average after that August 1st decision, then the reopening will be halted. So much like everything else, this is going to be looked at daily. The numbers change, the decisions might change as well. So he'll be using that data to determine whether or not the decision is made to open. Once that decision is made, it could change if the infection rates change as well. Now, the numbers that he'll be using will be from the week of August 1st to the 7th as a starting point. And again, if a school can reopen, they will need to follow the guidelines put out by the state. The health guidance is coming from the governor's office, and the education guidance will be coming from the state education department. Again, a lot of questions here, but seeing much more information today about whether or not our schools will be able to reopen using this state formula. So we finally have a true glimpse at what the fall will look like. From here, of course, it remains to be seen what guidelines the schools themselves will come up with to have a safe plan to keep our children safe while they're on the bus and in school. So still a lot of questions to be answered. Dan, I know that we haven't had a lot of time to digest this, obviously. Again, it was just minutes ago the governor made these announcements, but you have been working very closely with our local school districts. Can you give us some of your initial thoughts on what the governor said today?
Well, I'm glad it's data-driven. You know, we need to make sure we're making decisions smartly, and that's with a lot of data. So we're doing that. I have conversations with school superintendents almost daily and a number of committees for school districts. I deal with them regularly. I have meetings scheduled next week. So that's something that I'm doing. I've been doing that probably for the last month and a half to 2 months. So we continue to have meetings. We continue to talk about what their plans are. I give them my perspective from public health. They do the education part of it. But I think together we're really talking about what we think makes sense and what makes sure that people, not only the students, but also the staff and the teachers are safe as well. So we'll continue to work with them. Like I said, I have meetings scheduled this week, next week. We'll continue to do that. The fact is, right now, our daily infection rate over the past week has been about between 1% and 2%. So if the rate is 5%, then right now things look fine. But we need to make sure we take the data, we look at the numbers on a regular basis, even a daily basis, to make sure we're doing things right. But superintendents take this very serious, and I'm happy to see that. So I'm sure that they're working around the clock to make sure this happens, as long as it's safe.
Absolutely, and I think the point to take away here to our community is that as of today, the way the numbers look today, we can say that we most likely will be opening school in the fall. But again, that can change on a daily basis. We see so many states right now that are struggling. Their numbers are spiking upward very quickly. We are lucky in New York State to not be in that situation, but again, we're working very hard to be sure that that doesn't happen here. Many pieces to that. One of those is the travel quarantine that the governor has talked about. We know that individuals coming from states with very high infection rates are now told that they must quarantine for 14 days once they're in New York before they can be out and about. And the governor, again, announcing just minutes ago a new piece to the compliance with that travel quarantine. He's now saying that if you are on an airline coming in from one of those hotspot states that would require the travel quarantine, that you will be given a form on the airplane to fill out, that you will then have to turn in to the state workers once you are off of the plane to let them know that you are coming in from one of those states and that you know that you need to quarantine. The governor tells us if that does not happen, if you do not turn in that form once you are off of the plane, that you will immediately be summoned, given a $2,000 fine, and called to a hearing where you could then be mandated to quarantine because of the situation. So I think what we're seeing, Dan, is the governor really coming down and saying that compliance is becoming a big issue, that it's on all of our residents to know what's happening and to make sure that they're following the rules and the guidelines, and that the local governments are helping to enforce that. Any other thoughts there, Dan, or anything you'd like to add?
Yes, please. Yeah, my staff is getting calls around the clock. I'm getting dozens of emails a day, people saying, I know so-and-so, they went away, they came back, they're not quarantining. This can't be more serious. People need to follow this quarantine order. This is the governor's quarantine order. It's not one of my orders, but they need to follow it because he's serious about this fine. It's going to happen. People need to take the common sense approaches. If people are doing things that they used to be able to do 3 or 4 months ago, they can't do that anymore. Whether it's dance classing, whether it's practices, whatever, they need to make sure they're taking these things serious, because if not, I guarantee you the governor will be imposing those fines. So we need to make sure we're doing the things we've been doing all along. Be smart, look at the data, and follow the criteria of distance, making sure you have a mask on. Don't do the close contact things, because that's going to put you in the wrong direction with the numbers. So it's up to everyone to do that.
I agree, and I think it's very important to remind folks. I know there's some individuals who just, for whatever reason, their beliefs, their opinions about the masks, they don't think that they're going to get sick. They think they're young, they're healthy, they don't need to wear a mask. First and foremost, I would remind you and ask you to remember that wearing the mask is not just about you. It's about keeping everyone else healthy. You can have no symptoms whatsoever. You can feel perfectly healthy and fine, but still come back positive if tested. Wearing that mask really is about keeping other people safe. When you're out and about, because you're feeling healthy and you don't think you're sick, if you are carrying that virus, you want to know that you're not spreading it on to others without knowing that. The other important piece I think people need to remember is that there are guidelines for businesses to be reopened. There are very strict rules from the state that require businesses to have people there, their customers, their clientele, their employees wearing masks. And if you're going to a business that has this rule in place and you're not wearing your mask in that business, you're putting that business owner at risk. You're taking the chance that your favorite restaurant or your favorite bar could get shut down by the state, have their liquor license taken away by the liquor authority, or some other consequence because you didn't want to wear your mask while in that business. So please remember, it's not just about you and about, your own health, it's about everyone else's health, and letting those businesses that you love to be at and want to be at remain open by helping them follow the guidelines that they're mandated to follow. Dan, I want to thank you, of course, again for being here with us, and hopefully we'll see you again next Monday for our next update. I also want to remind everyone again, of course, about our county crisis hotline that you can call. This is 24/7, free and confidential help for anyone who might be struggling right now, whether it's you, a family member, or a friend who needs some extra assistance. You can call 716-285-3515. Again, this is free and confidential help 24 hours a day. They are there for you to help you and get you the assistance that you need. Don't struggle alone. We are all in this together. We will join you again next week for our next county update on Monday. If you joined us late today or you missed us, you can catch us on demand on lctv.net throughout the day. They'll replay our broadcast as they're able and also have us on their on-demand page, and we'll have that link for you on our Niagara County Facebook page as well. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank LCTV again for the wonderful partnership in helping us get this information out to our public right now while it is so important to do so. We'll see you again next Monday. For now, stay healthy, Niagara.